though Steph had the dagger shot, even though he had 20 points combined in the fourth quarter and overtime, he might not have been the story of the game. He might have taken a back seat to Trayce Jackson-Davis. Wow. So here's my overall take, because we've all been pushing he needs to play more minutes, right? He needs to play more minutes, and it sounds like Steve has finally heeded the call of fans who have been clamoring for Trayce to play more minutes, not just because it's what the Warriors lack, but because whenever he has played, he's seemingly played very well and impressed. And Steve says after the game that he's going to be in the lineup, which he didn't mean the starting line, he meant the rotation moving forward. But we could have that conversation. But my overall arching take from it is that I love Brandon Pajemski. Pods is great. He's fantastic. He's just a good basketball player. Right now, he's a good basketball player. He does a multitude of things. I've spoken incessantly about him in previous episodes. But I think Trayce might actually be the more important rookie, the more impactful rookie, just in the way that he revolutionizes, and I don't use that word lightly, he revolutionizes the way the Warriors play on both ends. He's that impactful. So he has the first double-double of his career, 10 points, 13 rebounds in 28 and a half minutes. But just clear the double-double to one side, right? Because that's not what describes his impact on the game. He has 3 block shots, which he has 2 of them on Jaylen Brown. First one in the first half was a right-hand layup attempt, which he, I want to say, pins against the backboard, but the replays would actually show it hit the backboard first. But still, it was called a block. The refs didn't call a goaltend. But then the moment of the game, arguably, aside from Steph's dagger 3, Jaylen Brown comes down the lane, goes up for a left-hand vicious slam, and gets met by Trayce with a huge rejection, with the Warriors up 4 a couple of minutes into overtime. When was the last time you saw a Warrior center do that? Have the kind of shot blocking ability that he does? Especially over the last 10 years here in this dynasty period where the Warriors have won 4 championships. Draymond can do it a little bit, but it's probably become less so a part of his game. He can come over and have help side blocks. But he's still 6'5", 6'6", right? He's undersized. It's not it's not a huge part of his game necessarily. Now he can come over and be a help defender and contest shots, absolutely, and force misses at the rim. But that kind of rejection, that kind of denial at the rim that we saw from Trayce Jackson-Davis on Jaylen Brown in overtime, when have you seen that? Now, JaVale McGee, maybe, yeah, but JaVale McGee wasn't playing 29 minutes at all for the Warriors during his stint. When have we back to Andrew Bogut, my man, fellow Australian? Maybe, but even back, when he came to the Warriors, Andrew Bogut was a diminished version of himself athletically due to injuries. He was still big, he was still huge, he was still capable of blocking shots, no doubt. But in terms of this athleticism, combined with the timing, this is what the Warriors wanted James Wiseman to be. When they drafted James Wiseman 2nd overall, they thought, okay, here's the guy that we can use to revolutionize the game on both ends for us, to be a shot-blocking presence on the defensive end, and then to be able to be a rolling presence, a lob threat on the offensive end, to take advantage of the gravity that Steph and Klay pull towards them. And as I said on last episode, it's such a stark contrast to have a guy that can take advantage of that rather than Kevon Looney, who, again, I don't want to be too disparaging against Kevon. He's been great over the last few seasons. But it is night and day, as I said last episode, between what he does and what Trayce can provide you. And so this is what they wanted James Wiseman to be. They thought this is the guy that James Wiseman could be. And then as he develops, as he gets more experience, as we go along further, he can start to bring his own offense in where he can post up guys and go into his post moves or hit a face-up mid-range jump shot or hit a three or stuff like that. And unfortunately, it kind of went the reverse. Jimmy Wise was more like, all right, let me get into my bag here. Let me post up. Let me go for a sky hook here. Let me face up mid-range jumper in the post here. Let me try and hit this three. Trying to do all the other stuff without actually just getting the basics of, okay, let me set a pick here. I'll roll and dive to the basket and get a layup or a dunk. Let me work on that. Let me work on actually just catching the ball off a pick and roll. Let me work on my timing and being in the right position defensively to block some shots or alter some shots. And that was the issue. He couldn't do any of that stuff, which we see as like simple, right? Like we're seeing that as the simple stuff as opposed to hitting some threes and, handling the ball a little bit still, going the length of the floor with the ball in your hand. It was the opposite for James Wiseman. He just couldn't do the stuff that we say is simple. But he's so impactful, particularly on this team where, as I said, you can take advantage of the gravity that Steph and Clay provide.